So let me ask.
Excuse me a second. I made a mistake.
I
I'm
thought
supposed to
so.
go to the other side. Senator Blumenthal.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the witnesses for being here this morning. General Ellison, I want to ask you about law enforcement generally, and especially as it applies here as a former Attorney General myself and a former United States Attorney. I'm very concerned about the lack of working together, not just coordination or cooperation, but actually joint work together here. You know, this is routine because law enforcement is not about red and blue. It's about trying to apprehend and prosecute wrongdoers, to deter others, to punish the ones who did it. We've been told this morning that Operation Metro Surge is over, but this issue is much bigger than just Minneapolis. It's about an out-of-control agency that is imposing brutality and violence in neighborhoods across the country. And the hearing that we held, a spotlight hearing last week, had witnesses who were shot and shot at, U.S. citizens with no criminal background whatsoever, in Chicago and California. This kind of brutality is happening across the country. So I think it really is a national issue. I appreciate your leadership on a national level to try to bring some sanity and rationality here. You were asked earlier by Senator Peters about the lack of cooperation in the investigations of Rene Goode and Alex Preddy's death. Absolutely tragic. But it's not just a lack of cooperation, I believe. Hasn't the federal government actually impeded your efforts to investigate by withholding evidence that was provided by state and local authorities and now is kept from you when you want to undertake a legitimate law enforcement investigation? Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Senator, we certainly hope this situation does change. But up until now, particularly on the Goode matter, we have been denied access to critical evidence in the case to evaluate it. Information like the car, the gun, shell casings, other critical information needed to complete an evaluation in an investigation we simply haven't had access to. We hope this changes. And you mentioned the presence of Tom Homan. I can tell you that with Secretary Noem and with Mr. Bovino, we didn't have any engagement at all. Perhaps now, with somebody who has experience of their own in law enforcement, we can make some progress. I'm hopeful. But up until now, the situation is, as you described, we've been denied access to critical information. We need to complete an investigation.
And the denial of information raises the issue of what is happening to that evidence. We know, having tried cases, that presenting it in court involves establishing a chain of custody, so as to show there was no tampering with the evidence, which is critical in crimes like the ones that allegedly were committed in the alleged murders of Preddy and Goode. That kind of chain of custody, the preservation of the integrity of the evidence, is critical to any prosecution or conviction. And I'm really concerned that the failure to provide this evidence or to attest to chain of custody, in effect, amounts to a cover-up.
You know, a lot of Minnesotans have used that word, Senator, and I hope that we can, my biggest hope is we can move on from here. I think everybody who's ever done police investigation, crime investigation, knows that there is a state interest and a federal interest. That's why collaboration is the norm. And I think that most people know that that information has got to be shared with everybody who has an interest in establishing truth in public safety. The fact that we haven't been doing it in this situation, I'm hoping that with the help of this committee, with the help of Mr. Homan perhaps, that we're going to get into a better place. But so far, we've been denied. And it's deeply disappointing because, as you know, when anytime somebody is killed in your state, I mean, you, along its distinguished career in Connecticut, you know that that leaves a massive hole in community, and to simply not investigate it, say there's nothing to see here. We've heard from the second most important official at DOJ that they're not going to investigate the Rene Goode case, that they are not going to investigate at all. And I would hope that this committee would say, no, we do expect that when Minnesotans or anybody of any state is killed, particularly in connection with the officer-involved matter, that there will be an investigation. And it'll be fair, and it'll be thorough, and it'll be joint. And then whatever the results are what the results are. But the fact that they're not going to investigate, and local officials in large numbers have quit because of the conduct of the recent conduct of the DOJ, this is all deeply disturbing, and I hope we can turn the corner.
I appreciate the measured and insightful tone that you are bringing, and the message of hope. You've used that term a number of times. The people of Minnesota deserve hope that things will now change, and I hope that they will. I think the nation hopes that they will. But in the meantime, the failure to investigate the Goode killing, and in fact, I believe that the investigation is focused on Rene Goode's family.
That's right.
Insofar as there is any investigation, it's of her sister and possibly her family. I find absolutely abhorrent and incomprehensible. So I think there is a need for real reform in the Department of Homeland Security, which we are endeavoring to do, as you know, with common sense, restraints, and far-reaching overhaul of this agency that right now is out of control and needs to be reined in. But in the focus on this action in Minneapolis, I hope professionalism such as you brought to this effort will prevail. And again, my thanks to you and Mr. Schnell and Mr. Niska for being here today.